When you think of diversity, Wichita, Kansas is probably one of the last places that comes to mind. Yet, in a city with less than 400,000 people, we have a wide range of ethnic populations represented here. In fact, just by driving down a major street, you can find a number of locally owned ethnic restaurants, as well as many different international grocery stores. Today I'm out on the soccer field to meet a family who knows all about diversity. Jonathan Workman is an employee at Koch Industries and is a father to 3 children. This year, he decided to try his hand at coaching his daughter's soccer team. What many people may not realize is that his daughter Samantha was adopted from India. In fact, all of Jonathan's children were adopted internationally. After soccer practice, I had the chance to sit down with Jonathan and Samantha to talk about their experiences of being such a unique family.
I do have an interesting family. They are probably one of the most unique families in all of Wichita because we have many nations represented in our home. Our oldest daughter, Lydia, is 12, and she's from China. Samantha is our middle daughter, and she is 9, and she's from India. And our youngest daughter just came home last year. Her name is Stella, and she's from Burundi, Africa, which is just south of Rwanda. And we're actually in process right now to adopt another little girl from India. So working on number 4.
Tell me how you decided to adopt internationally.
So many years ago, my wife and I were youth leaders. And as part of our youth ministry, we sent kids on mission trips all over the world. So they did short 1-month, 2-month trips to Australia, Venezuela, China, different countries. And so we got to learn about the nations through their experiences. Later in life, when we decided that we wanted to start a family, adoption was really the best choice for us. And it was really easy to choose international adoption because of those experiences. And so we were very excited to be able to do that. And that's the avenue that we pursued.
Tell me a little bit about the process of adoption. With regards to your first child, for example.
It is quite a process. It's not something that happens quickly. If you're a person who is impatient, international adoption is probably not for you because there's a lot of paperwork. So you start out in the first phase is your home study phase. So you have to get your fingerprints taken and do a lot of paperwork, and then you have a social worker come visit your home. Not so much to see if your home is in good condition, but if your family is suited to adopt. So they'll ask a lot of personal questions about your family and about your marriage and things like that. You just have to be ready for that. After that, you get to do a lot more paperwork, and that gets translated, submitted to China. And then after that, you're matched with a child. And in that case, we were actually sent a picture of Lydia when she was a few months old, and were asked if we want to accept this child. We said yes. And several months after that, we were able to travel to China and bring her home. So that was our first experience to go to China and was absolutely amazing.
What was it like to see your child for the first time?
It's an amazing experience. I mean, with Lydia, the first was, of course, the most dramatic for us because we'd never done it before. Quite literally, Lydia lived in an orphanage that was about 2.5 hours away from the city that we were in. We went to a city called Chongqing, which was 6 million people, and Lydia lived in just a small town of only 1 million people. And so they brought her in, and we were in our hotel, and we had a knock on the door, and they said, "It's time." And we went to another hotel room, and they said, "Come on in." And they had all of these babies in the room. And they would call our names, and we would go in and get our child. And then it was that quick. We'd have that child. The first thing we did with all the children was we took them back to the room and just thoroughly checked them over. So with Lydia and Sam, we took off all their clothes and made sure they were okay and didn't have any physical problems that we could see. And then it's just the process of getting to know your child and just beginning that process of being a family. So, in one moment, there's no child there, and the next moment, there is a child there. And so it's very dramatic, and from that point on, they're with you with everything you do. So with Sam, we went to visit the Taj Mahal in India. Sam went with us to the Taj Mahal. in India, or in China, we visited different sites as well, and Lydia was right there with us. So it was it's quite an amazing experience.
Were there any other experiences that stood out to you that you remember?
I would say that probably the most dramatic experience from a cultural perspective was Burundi. Burundi is the second poorest nation in the world, and when we went there, they're not used to having white people there. And so when we went even to the city of Bujumbura, which is the capital, we'd get a lot of looks. One day, on the weekend, we had some time and we went out into the countryside, and just our guide took us different places to visit and showed us different things, and we happened upon a wedding. And so he said, well, let's stop and let's see. And it was outside, and so we stopped, and suddenly the bride and groom weren't the most popular people at the wedding. It was the white people. And so all of these children ran up to us and wanted pictures with us and wanted to touch us and look at our skin. And it was just an amazing experience. It was so much fun just to be in that environment and to get to experience that, something that we'll never forget.
As Jonathan explained to me in our interview, international adoption can be a bumpy road at times, and things can change in an instant.
We have, we have Lydia, Sam, and Stella at home, but in between Sam and Stella, we actually pursued Russian adoption. And through that process, we'd actually done almost all the paperwork. We traveled to Russia once and met our son, who's HIV positive. And we came back. We were preparing for trip 2, and there were some issues in the political systems between President Obama and President Putin, where President Putin said, I'm sorry, but people from America can no longer adopt in our country. And so there were approximately 360 families that were caught in the middle, and we were one of those families. And it was just cut off. One day it was okay, and the next day it wasn't. So that was a very horrific experience, probably one of the worst things we've been through in our life. I mean, we've never had the horror of losing a child to death physically, but this is probably pretty close to an equivalent for us to lose Matthias. And so that was you have to be ready for anything in adoption. I mean, adoption is everything changes. If you're a person who likes your ducks in a row and wants to have that kind of experience again, you may want to think real hard before you pursue this, because things can change in an instant.
Also in our interview, Jonathan told me about a man named Edgar who was coming to visit them. Edgar is a social worker in Burundi, Africa, who helped the Workmans adopt their third child, Stella. I had the chance to talk to Edgar to learn about the conditions orphans face in a place like Burundi.
So you understand that in the orphanages, in general, human conditions are not good. No, are not good. That is something common for many orphanages. But they eat. We say to eat. They eat for the hungry. They cannot die for the hungry, but they eat the same food, same quality during many years. For medicines, they go to the hospital when they have chance, because she can feel sick and not be seen by a social work. A child can have temperature 2 days, while your child have temperature, you see it directly. For the other one, can stay like this. So conditions are not good. No. On one bed, 90 centimeter, 3 kids on a bed. They don't have good toilet. No. So they are under the minimum. The best moment is when we arrive at the airport, when I see a child in the hand, between the hand of a parent, and they are going to leave these bad conditions. He become a child in a family, because in the orphanage he's not a child in the family. No, but the day they leave, when they leave, you see Oh, the child now has papa, has mama, and they go. That is an exciting moment, a big one.
Tell me about Stella before she was adopted.
Among the children, one was sick, very ill. He's Stella. But the child who had special need and who was sick with problem, every 3 months he had temperature, he went in the hospital every 3 months. Because I remember one day at the hospital they said he gets sick because of the quality of food, if I can say. As long as she will continue to eat bad quality, she will always be hospitalized. And I tell you something, for Esther, for example, I was convinced that and we have seen this, if the adoption failed, Esther was going to die. I can confirm this. But the blessing moment was this fact of to have family.
Despite all the trials and tribulations of international adoption, the Workmans still continue to pursue what they believe is their calling in life.
Adoption for us, with Lydia, with our first adoption, was very much an experience because we were unable to have children. We wanted to have a family. But after that, it really became a mission for us. It became a calling on our lives. We're Christians, and so we feel that this is part of the calling in our life, not only just to adopt children, but to adopt kids who would really be unwanted. And so Stella is a special needs child. She has sickle cell. Matthias was HIV positive. Sam has hypothyroidism, and so those are the children that we really want to pursue. And so a lot of the choosing of the countries sometimes comes down to the individual child. With those children, with Stella in particular, and the child that we're going to be pursuing, they're called waiting children, which means they have identified issues, and we can choose that child based on their conditions and then pursue them in that country. But a lot of the country choices that we've made have been really through prayer, just asking the Lord where we should go and who we should adopt and where we should adopt from, and we've felt really led very definitively to the different countries that we've gone to. So that part has been a real partnership between us and just the relationship that we have with God. So Sam, tell me what you like about being in our family.
We get to watch movies together. We get to read books together. We get to get ice cream. We get dogs.
We are just a normal family. You know, we like to go see movies. The girls like to roller skate. Sam is a soccer player. Lydia is a basketball player. Stella likes gymnastics. So we do that. We don't take our family for granted because it takes a lot of effort for us to have our family. And so we believe that our children are here for a purpose, and we are here for them.